Before we jump into things, please consider becoming a member here on YouTube or becoming a patron on Patreon. Even your small contribution does go a long way. Thank you. What is going on, everybody? It is Monday, February the 15th, and this is my news radar. I've also just noticed that my shirt is wet from my hair, so if you see that, that's what that is. So let's start off with a kind of cool thing going on this morning. If you know anything about me, you probably know that I do use a set of Surface headphones from time to time. These are the Gen 1 Surface headphones. In fact, I did a video on those headphones, or really the Surface headphones too, because they're not very different at all. And I talked about how well they pair with something like the Surface Duo. And long story short, I do quite like them. I think they've got some great features. And overall, I think their best feature is just their interface. The little spinning dials, the large capacitive area, on-off detection. All of these things work really well, in addition to multi-point pairing, so you can be paired to your laptop and your phone at the same time without having to disconnect and reconnect over and over. So basically what I'm getting at here is, if you're in the market for a good set of wireless ANC headphones, there's a really good deal going on this morning for exactly you. If you head over to woot.com, which I'll put the link to this directly in the description, you will see a set of the Gen 1 Surface headphones for $110.99. And as you can see up there, if you are a Amazon Prime member, you will get free shipping on that as well. At $110, really excellent price. That's a really good deal for these Surface headphones. Now you gotta act quickly here, because they may go out of stock before too long. As you see, they're already being purchased by some people. And yeah, just overall, they're a really good set of headphones. And for $110, you'll be really hard pressed to find anything a whole lot better than that. Let me know in the comments down below if you did go ahead and buy a set of those through Woot. I wish I had an affiliate link to post, but I don't. This is just a straight up Woot link. I get nothing for this, just passing the information along. So with the Surface Duo in mind, software updates have been something that have maybe not come as quickly or as impactfully as we've all been hoping. So far, all we've really gotten are bug fixes, no new features, literally at all, since launch on September 10th. And granted, those software updates with bug fixes have done quite a bit to shore up the experience and to make the Surface Duo run a lot better for some of us. For some of us, we're actually experiencing worse performance out there. That's deeply upsetting for some people, I imagine. But for a lot of people, the Surface Duo has improved dramatically since launch. However, one thing that it still does not have is Android 11. And we finally have some information on when this would happen. We'd already known it was supposed to happen, obviously, in 2021. Any later than that, and it's a lost cause at that point. But this article from Windows Central does indicate that somewhere in the summer, Surface Duo will be receiving Android 11. So I'm going to throw the text up here on screen that does indicate June, July, or maybe even September at the latest for the Android 11 launch on Surface Duo. And I think it's important to keep in mind a couple of facts about Microsoft, Android, and Surface Duo. Microsoft is really just now ramping up their work on Android with the purchase of the team that had been an outsourcing essentially their work on Android. Now they've brought that team in-house under their leadership. So now they're really beginning to ramp up that Android development. But that does take time. You can't just flip a switch and go from never really working on Android in that way to being as good as Samsung or something like that. Granted, I would hope that they'd be a little bit better at it than they have been, considering that they are Microsoft, the biggest software developer on planet Earth, and it's taking a little bit longer than I think some of us expected. But hopefully, as they do ramp up, these things are going to accelerate more and more, in particular as we head towards Surface Zeta / Surface Duo 2. So Android 11 should carry with it a lot of improvements for dual screen devices. A lot of the work Microsoft is doing on their dual screen devices rolling directly into Android 11. So there's some hope out there that Android 11 will kind of bring Surface Duo into the place that maybe it should have been when it launched. Maybe it will really bring this device to fruition in a lot of ways. Granted, it can't really change the hardware. The camera is still going to be subpar on Surface Duo. Nothing Android 11 can do about that, but perhaps it can bring it into a much better light. So the bad news is that when you launch a device that has as many problems as Duo did, even if you do fix it, half a year or a year later, well, the reviews are still going to be bad. So honestly, Surface Duo is probably going to be seen in a negative light by the vast majority of the public, even though a lot of us do love the device, and even though Android 11 may really bring a lot of improvements, Surface Duo 2 or Surface Zeta is probably where they're going to make most of their hay. So speaking of Android 11, Google is getting ready to launch Android 12. So the Duo will be officially one whole version behind, more than likely by the time it gets 11, 12 will probably already be on the market. So what's new in Android 12? What should we be expecting? Well, let's look at this article from XDA developers because they've got a pretty good rundown here of some of the very, very early ideas and looks at the 12th version of Android. So we're looking at a potential UI refresh. I mean, if you look at, a standard Android phone right now, this does not look all that similar. This is much more rounded. When you've got multiple notifications here, they're sort of angled and then rounded on the final edges, which is quite interesting. It just looks like a much more flat, much more perhaps modern UI. And as pointed out here, the white UI looks more beige now than before. Now, I would hope that this is just a pickable accent color that you can change in the system because I'm not a big fan of beige, but there's beige. We also get a look here at an overhaul of the widgets in general. We see a new Conversations widget that should be present in Android 12 and a new UI for placing them. Here's something that looks like they literally have taken straight from iOS, and it is a privacy notification. So when you're in the camera app, for instance, it's going to show you your camera and your microphone are being used. This is something that is in Windows 10 as well, and it's something that I think is a really good idea to bring forward. It's good for us to know when our camera, when our microphone are being active, when there's so many possibly malicious apps out there, in particular in the Play Store. Scrolling screenshots, that's a feature that I miss on my OnePlus 7 Pro all the time. The ability to take a screenshot, hit extend, it scrolls the screen down and makes one long screenshot. That is an awesome feature that I cannot wait to have built into Android. They also talk about some anti-tracking features. This is something that iOS is really pushing hard into, and in a world right now where we're all a little bit more paranoid about what our phones are doing, how Google is tracking us, how Facebook is tracking us, all these sorts of things, it's a good idea to have more of these features in your phone to make you feel a little bit safer. Granted, this is coming from Google, who are like the kings of tracking you for their ads. Well, maybe Facebook might be a little bit more extreme, but Google does a lot of tracking. So it would be interesting to see how far they push this. Probably not going to be as stringent or strict as something like what Apple does. We also have a new theming system, which will be really cool to finally have built into Android in a significant way. Now, this is something we've had a little taste of in the past with some accent colors and things, but this is something that looks to be on a much larger scale. It may actually extend to third-party applications now. Hibernating unused apps is a good way to potentially free up some resources on your phone as well. That will be cool to see. Improve multitasking with split screen multitasking and app pairs. So basically the idea of having the ability to essentially, like the Surface Duo, create a pair of apps that you select. And on Duo, it launches them on the two screens. Maybe on Android 12, it launches them in this split screen view. That's a really good feature that I don't know why that's not a thing. Now you have to launch an app and then swipe up and hold, hit split screen, then touch the other app, and then it's there. Well, this should truncate that experience and make it much more usable. And there's actually plenty more here that I won't dive into because it's not super big, but things like Rumble, support for controllers, ultra-wideband APIs, which will enable things like peer-to-peer connections in a new way, and plenty more. So at the end of the day, Android 12 looking like a pretty nice improvement on the Android ecosystem in general. So guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next news radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.